It's hot in here. Oh, okay. My house is hot, so husband, will you turn on the air conditioning? So this is the second video, and we were talking about nervousness. And so we talked about the ways to fight it, the ways to control it, the ways to handle it, but sometimes it helps to know why you're having it in the first place. Where is it coming from? Because if you can find the root of it, then it's easier to actually pull the root out. So what we're going to talk about are these reasons for nervousness. There are 4 reasons for nervousness. The first is a fear of being stared at. Stared. The fear of being stared at. For those of you who have cats or any other animal, and I might have mentioned this, that's how they protect their area. They will look at each other and say, "Don't you come here," and they'll just spend so long staring at each other. In the animal world, you stare and then you fight. In drunken bar world, you stare at each other and then you fight. And so they have this idea that when everybody is staring at you, that you have to kind of get defensive. Apparently, I'm not one, but I've heard that it's very difficult for veterans sometimes to present because everybody is staring at them and they've been taught to be defensive and to not let that happen because it's a form of aggression. And so you have to be careful. Those of you that are worried that everybody's staring at you and it makes you feel uncomfortable and kind of like you have to protect yourself, that's one of the reasons, is because you have this fear of being stared at. That's why when I was talking about eye contact, I said make sure that you don't oscillate like a fan, because that's when you really get a feel for, oh my goodness, how many eyes are staring at me? If there's 20 people in the room, there are 40 eyeballs, and that it really sinks in. So that's why you do one at a time, because look, that's only 2 eyeballs. And you're not staring at them, you're just talking to them. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is a fear of failure. All right, a fear of failure. Now this is afraid of looking stupid. So I'll write animal world so you can remember. Animal. And this one is looking stupid. You care what your peers think. You don't want them to know that you don't know that much about this one thing, or you don't want them to think that you're a bad speaker. And so you want to be accepted. It's like being in high school again, where you feel like, please like me, please think that I'm good enough, please think I'm funny, please think that I'm creative. And so you really are thinking a lot about the audience in not a good way, because you want to think about the audience and what they want, not I hope the audience likes me. So this one, they're worried about the whole feeling of I'm not good enough for my peers. Now closely related to that is the fear of rejection. So we have the fear of failure and the fear of rejection. The difference between this is that you feel stupid in front of your peers. This one is that they won't like you. This is very difficult for those of you that are, you love your 4.0 GPA, you're a science person, you're a math person, you like to be able to read the textbook, learn it, take the test, ace it, and walk away. It's very basic. There's a right and a wrong. It's objective. So stepping foot into this public speaking class is terrifying because you're not exactly sure that you can get that A. There's no amount of studying. What if you practice your speech and you think it's really great and still you got a B on the speech? You're not used to getting B's. And so people are really worried about, what if I do my very, very best and I still get a B in this class? And so they're worried so much about their grade that they're losing the focus of what do you want the audience to think, feel, or do. And if you worry too much about your grade and the fact that you might get rejected by an 87%, then that's going to make you feel more and more nervous. I've got to get an A. I've got to get an A. Tanya, what are you writing? What are you writing, Tanya? Am I going to get an A? That's going to build up your nervousness a lot. I know how this feels. They have that website, rateyourprofessors.com, and I've been on there a couple of times, and it's terrifying to go, what are they going to say about me? Because it's anonymous. They're students from years ago, and when I see something that's not great, I'm like, oh, no, I remember that. That's not how it happened. Or I think, no, I know what this feels like, and you have to make sure that you get it under control and say, okay, Tanya, that was just one case at one point, and let's take that information and how can I improve? So I know what that is to think, please like me, please like me, please give me a high score. Number 4 is a fear of the unknown. Some of you like to know exactly what's going to happen, and that's why you like to memorize. But the fear of the unknown, you cannot predict or control public speaking. The microphone might go out. Somebody might burst into the room. If you watch soap operas, it happens all of the time. But there's no way to control public speaking, and for some people, giving that up is really scary. So when you look at these, all of us, even those of you who are like, I'm great at public speaking, great, you can be, but you're still going to have one of these things that you tend to do more. So for me, mine is a fear of rejection, that I'm not good enough. But others of you might have a fear of being stared at, a fear of your peers won't like you and they'll think you're dumb, or that something bad will happen to your grade or to your self-confidence. So if you look at these reasons, then you can kind of go, okay, if I'm worried about being rejected, then how can I be rational about this? And like I said, you can think, okay, this is just one person. The others, they thought it was okay, and then I can even go, what did they say and what can I pull from that? Even if I feel like, that was pretty much wrong, my class isn't that hard, then I can say, well, why did they think it was? But you have to make sure that if you go to the fear of rejection, okay, if I do happen to give you an 86 on one speech, that's not going to be the end of the class, I promise. There are more speeches. There are more assignments for paperwork. There's a lot of things, and so don't let that fear overtake you. That fear of being stared at, okay? Make sure that you look at one person at a time, a happy person. Fear of failure. We're all friends here, so don't assume that they are all going to think you're stupid, because they don't. They're too busy worrying about themselves. And finally, the unknown, and we talked about that through memorization and thinking that you always have to be in control, that's not a good thing. Accept imperfections, because they're okay. So that is nervousness, and depending how class goes on Monday, September 12th, I may have to do another home lesson about listening and evaluations, because that's important information too. It would be information that would be on a future quiz. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully this kind of works for you. You get the information, you can take notes, you can learn from it. This information is also in your textbook if you like to read it. And so make sure that you learn this because it's good stuff. And I look forward to seeing you in class. Bye.